Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we're looking at player props for Wednesday here in the NBA with a nice schedule, nice little slate that we've got for you. A lot of teams on the second end of a back-to-back after most of them played yesterday, but a lot of rest that was taken into consideration. So we've got notes on all that here for you. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. Also want to check out the Best Bets episode that we have up for you with some looks at the sides and totals for these games as well. Only 0-2 yesterday because both of my props ended up not playing. We talked about Malik Monk probably not playing. That game sucked for the Kings. And then we had no Paul George, who was probable and then just a late scratch and whatever. So welcome to January in the NBA. Make sure you're checking those injury reports. But I think we can bank on this man showing up and giving the full amount of effort he has, and that's Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, that's part of the cap here. I mean, is that the Nuggets are on a back-to-back. They're going to need Russ to bring some energy. So I'll take the 12.5 rebounds assists, which is minus 109 at Bet Rivers, about minus 120 everywhere else. I don't know if you have a Bet Rivers account. I guess I can throw shade at them because they're not one of our affiliates here at the Lines. But I mean, maybe you pay up a little bit. He could be good here for 13.5 for sure. On back-to-backs this season, Russ averaging 8 assists, 5.3 rebounds. He's a plus 18 on average in 28 minutes. Jamal Murray also very good on back-to-backs in terms of his plus-minus. Assists dip a little bit. But, I mean, Jamal last night was just unconscious. That's why this is only a half a back-to-back, basically, for the Nuggets starters. They all kind of got pulled. 26 minutes for Russ last night because Jamal had 32 at the half. That snapped a streak of 9 straight with this 13 RA for him. And you look at the matchup against Houston. I mean, the points aren't necessarily a bad look, but it's just a different Houston team since it's, Amen Thompson has really become a central part of their identity. It's just there's a lot more pace. There's a lot more athleticism, forcing you to match something like that with Denver, with Russ, who's, been a key part of the lineup anyway. You no longer have to be like, oh, Aaron Gordon's out or Jamal's out, Russ more opportunities. It's just like, no, he is a key cog in this lineup. And, he's actually right behind Joker in terms of passes, rebound chances, potential assists, everything. He's facilitating next to him. They had a triple-double in the same game, which is absurd for these two guys. Yeah. But Houston, with Şengün out there and you can't go to Jabari Smith, they're going to struggle to guard the paint. 47 paint points on the road, 51.5 allowed in their last 3 in the paint. And Russ is on pace for the most assists ever in a season to Joker. So he's just going to get down there, give it to Joke. You don't miss. And as far as as of early January, I almost took him against the Spurs. Glad I bailed off that, but I still have the notes in here where he was leading the team in drives and shooting 73% on those. The last 5, he's still leading the team in drives, shooting very poorly, 33%. That's the Russ we've known the last couple of years. But the pass rate is way up. It's a 45% pass rate. He's up to 11 potential assists per game and getting, 6.8 actual assists, 8.3 actual rebounds, clearing this number pretty healthily. I think he'll be good on the back-to-back, and that this should be, kind of a new kind of Houston game where they do get up and down and they allow you to get more stats.
Yep. Yeah, I can see all that in this one. What I was looking at recently with Russ too is just with Jokic on the floor, it's absolutely insane how good they are together. Just didn't have it that would be as successful. I think there was if we were looking at the best possible scenario and outcome of this, it was that Russ plays well off of Jokic. But weirdly, Jokic plays well off of Russ. Russ is assisting him and finding him. And really the one facilitating things. And I love the rebounds as well when you look at the way that he's not playing at the same time as Aaron Gordon. And that was a big reason for loving his rebounds over the course of the last couple of weeks as Aaron Gordon was out, is that Ago's still coming off the bench now. So their minutes are a lot more sort of dispersed and not together, which is great because, Michael Porter Jr., great rebounder or whatever, but it's Russ. And he's going to attack those offensive boards probably even more than Jokic because Jokic is taking the shots. And it's just crazy how, well, it's Jokic. I guess it shouldn't be that crazy. Anybody and their mom, if Russell Westbrook can just be this dude who all of a sudden is not a black hole and is so much better and efficient because he's next to Jokic, I mean, I could probably score 20 a game if I played alongside Jokic. Let's put it that way. Let me go over to my guy, Josh Hart. I love that I get this opportunity to bet on him. If you are watching this show consistently, you can go ahead and just continue to expect me to attack Josh Hart rebounds when he's playing against Philadelphia, especially if Joel is out there. So double is even money for him. I see the rebounds at 9.5 some places, 10.5 or plus money in other places, but I think 10 points is still good for our guy here, who's averaging about 14 on the season. So as far as the double for him, or it's mostly the rebound, so that's what I'm focused on against Philly. Not a great rebounding team, and even when JoJo's out there, not a great rebounding team, and has never been with him out there. Probably not. I should be considered not as good of a rebounder for someone who's so big for himself, and it's a lot to do with now it's going to be him versus Cat, right? And I was talking about this in best bets where I do like the Knicks to win this game. Like if you don't put Joel on Cat because you want to hide him, then you're done. Like you're just going to create mismatches everywhere. You can't afford to do that. If you want to bring Yabusele on the court with him, Godspeed. You're now very big trouble everywhere else on the floor as well. And on offense, you're just not going to be as dynamic. So, but yeah, if you look at Hart against this team, over 9 of his last 11 versus Philly, including the playoff run last year, the 2 unders were in the playoffs. So he's actually now over in 5 in a row in the regular season versus them. In those 5 regular season games, including this season where he had 12 last game. 23 rebound chances per game against them on 14 boards per game. Like just loves going to the rim because he knows that if Joel and Cat are boxing each other out, that thing is wide open for him. And, we'll see if Kelly Oubre does a good enough job. But if Oubre is the one guarding Brunson, like I think we'll both think he'll spend a good amount of time doing that, especially so you don't have to tire out an older PG, then he's not going to be available for those rebounds, right? So that definitely leaves more open for Jay Hart, who will probably be going up against Paul George at that point, I would imagine. We'll see how it all shakes out. But we could only hope he gets Maxey as his matchup so that Paul George is guarding a guy like McHale, for instance, right? Like there's going to be mismatches enough that Josh Hart will be roaming, man, and just playing that free safety, which is what he's done in the last 12 games, is gone over in 11 of his last 12, up those rebound chances to 20 per game, really closer to 21. It's like 20.8 per game, 12.6 rebounds per game in that time frame. Cat's only missed like 1 or 2 games in these last 12, if at most 2. And that's the thing that's been awesome is watching him on court with Cat, seeing his rebounds rise up now to about 13.8 per 36 minutes with Cat in those last 12 games. So with him on the floor, it's been 11 games that he's played with Cat over the last 12. So yeah, I love this, man. I mean, Philly gives up the 4th most rebounds per game to forwards, just forwards in general, whichever one you want to consider them. And so I love this for Hart to keep going on the boards here.
Yeah, in those last 12, Josh Hart actually has a double-double without scoring 10 points too, right? Like 16 and 10 dimes
and 2
against
triple-doubles.
Yeah, 2 triple-doubles as well. And only OKC has prevented him from getting a double-double. So it's like good matchup, bad matchup. I don't care. Like, you were looking for another pick on Monday, and I was just like, Josh Hart triple-double or like 10 boards? Like, just throw that out there. Like, he's just – it was funny to think, like, early in the season, they're like, oh, he doesn't know how he fits with this lineup, and, like, is he going to have as productive a season? It's just like, no, like, just go out there and hustle. Then do your thing. Like, sooner or later, other NBA players are going to wind down, and apparently Josh Hart does not have that.
Does not. He is Derrick Henry in the second half. And it's how I got him on my fantasy basketball team for $1. Is everybody else galaxy brained this thing to like, how is he going to fit in? Well, fit in where he gets in, where he'll fit in. It'll be fine.
Yes, sir. Carrying us from the last round there, Josh Hart.
Yes, sir.
PJ Washington, over 21.5 points rebounds is the official pick here. I got 13.5 points, and then they moved it up on the hook there to 14.5 because it did seem kind of low at DraftKings, but plus 330 for a double-double, worth a tiny sprinkle, I believe, here, because, I mean, to 21.5 points rebounds, can bet them both together, or, you assume both would hit if they do hit here. I mean, I don't know if I assume, but anyway. The numbers do indicate that he's going to be pretty good for boards. He's going to be really good for points, actually. The biggest surprising thing here was that you might think he needs Luka to score. No, not this season. He's actually averaging 16 without Luka. Rebounds up from 6.4 to 8.8. Usage rate up 7%. And 3-point percentage is up 9%. So it's not like Luka is just setting him up is like he can't shoot without him. No, sometimes guys actually play a lot better when they get the ball in their hands sometimes, and they're not just sitting in the corner waiting to take that three. Definitely sometimes feels better to be involved. And if Kyrie happens to sit on that back end here, PJ is averaging 17.6 without him as well, so the points should be pretty good. Derek Lively is going to be out. That's also going to require more rebounding effort here for him. And I mean, it's against the Pels team that's both bottom 5 in protecting the paint. In fact, I think the worst team in the league, right there with Chicago, and bottom 4 allowing corner threes, which is key for PJ, of course. Even if Luka's not out there, he's going to be shooting threes. And against, any team that's like mediocre to poor in those departments, he's done very well these last 5 with Kyrie out for most of them. Take away the Denver and Houston games, which, just played back-to-back with Denver. He's averaging 21 and 8.6 and hitting 12 threes in his last 5 against any other team. That includes like the revitalized Sacramento Kings, Portland, etc. So I think he's going to be tasked to do a little bit more on the back end of a back-to-back. He's one of those guys who played like 25 minutes or less on the front end. He's a younger guy, not like a Klay Thompson who you don't necessarily trust here on the back end. And there's a chance Kyrie sits, and then the usage should just be very high for PJ.
Yeah, no doubt. I do like this spot as well for him. I'm kind of overbetting on him, honestly, but there's nothing else going for this team right now. So he has stepped up in that sense. And that's the key. The only reason I would be betting on him is everything you brought up, is that like it's not the same PJ Washington that we saw have to have Luka out there with him like last season. And that's really it. And I mean, look, he's got the handles to be able to help out there too. He will have Kyrie feeding him in this one as well. So you got to look at that. And then look, I mean, Pels, not only are they bottom 5 protecting the paint, like you catch and shoot against them all you want. And they're not getting better on defense at this point. Like CJ, man. Yeah, CJ McCollum. We could do it we could do a pod on CJ McCollum and just the brilliance with which he made himself get paid to just tank this team, because he is the whale contract that's keeping them from doing anything. Once the injuries start to come in, now they're toast for the Pels, and so that perimeter defense is just awful, man. It's just awful. We're going to get a good amount of Brandon Boston in this one. No shade to your boy, but just not the best defender. So let me get over to Peyton P and talk about the victory cigar for the Boston Celtics. 11.5 points right now. I got to imagine that like this could end up at 12.5. To be honest, it's still pretty good in terms of the odds. You can get like minus 109 on Caesars for 11.5. You can get 10.5 if you want to drink the like minus 150 that you would take for it. But it's really just like boom or bust. You might as well take like 15 plus at that point. Just get plus money, throw a half a unit on it, because to me this is all about what happens in this game. That's always what it's about with Peyton Pritchard. He's your backup running back, right? It's like we got to wait till we're in the fourth quarter here, up points to start handing the ball off to the backup, and that's why they call him the victory cigar. But he has been involved in the game more so. It's just I can't really rely on him and his involvement earlier in the game before the blowout quite as much as when there's at least one of the starters who isn't in for Boston. They're all in. Nobody's going to miss. But the key is they're 14.5 point favorites. So let's start there. In the games that they've won by 15 plus this season, Peyton Pritchard's averaging 16.8 points per game in 28 minutes, which is up from his what's he's at on the season now. He's at 14.6, so it's 2 points higher in that from that standpoint, and he's also getting about 3 more minutes per game, which all just leads right to the narrative of like he's out there for the fourth quarter. The other thing is like when he is coming out in the second quarter, it's just his usage just plummets when he's out there with both like Jaylen Brown and then any combo of Tatum and Drew or Derek White. Then you also get Al Horford out there taking some of the corner threes from Pritchard. So that's all unfortunate. So once again, this is based on game flow and what Boston has coming up, right? So like, because what do I need to tell you how bad Toronto is at defense? Like if I do, then just like, I don't know, it's very easy to find out how bad they are. Any defensive stat that you look at, they'll be at the very bottom of it, especially on the spot up, especially in transition, especially if you're going to the rim, right at the rim as well, 25th in limiting that. So like the corner three, they're bottom 5, limiting corner threes, everything that like Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard catch and shoot game. But with the schedule that this team has coming up for Boston, they're off tomorrow, then they're against Orlando, who's had their number, or at least Paolo especially has had their number. I think they're going to be healthy because they're healthier. At least they're resting guys today. We'll see in their matchup today against Milwaukee. You might not see KCP and a few other guys that are questionable because I think they care a bit more about the Boston game, and Milwaukee's on the second leg of a back-to-back too. So my point is like they know that Orlando's coming for him. Atlanta is going to be coming for him on the second leg of a back-to-back coming up after the Orlando game, and then they go on the West Coast road trip beginning with Golden State, which sounded a lot more formidable of an opponent before the last like 15 games. But either way, it's the beginning of a nasty road trip where they'll play some really good teams. So I just think Peyton Pritchard 28 minutes in this game is a look. If they're up by like 12 at the beginning of the fourth quarter, I think that's Peyton Pritchard time as well. They don't need to have Drew Holiday out there. I think that's the man who kind of comes out for Peyton consistently in this one, because he's going to continue to get the rest when they can get it for him and Papa Al. So I don't think you'll see much KP either. I would not be betting overs on like Kristaps or anything like that in this one unless he does it early. So yeah, I think this one gets out of hand quickly, and then we get Peyton P and Sam Hauser out there.
Yeah, no Emmanuel quickly for the Raptors, which is kind of key here because that means Davion Mitchell bumped to the starting unit and will be guarding guys like White and Holiday, and then PP works against like rookie Jamal Shed or I guess Bruce Brown off the bench, but I mean he's probably not going to be wasted on Peyton Pritchard. I mean either way, like Pritch going to have your money, especially when it's a minus 12.5, 14.5 spread, whatever it winds up being here. There's a strong correlation between that and Pritch scoring. So yeah, you might as well look at some parlays with the alt line here to see what kind of money you can get on that correlation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really looking at like the starting lineup coming out slow. Or Toronto's on the second leg of the back-to-back, so at least they have the they've got the we played recently, we're still fresh legs. The guys that are going to be out there want to kill the Celtics, and then maybe the Celtics are down 4 with a couple minutes left in the first quarter, and then Peyton Pritchard comes in and is like, I got this, guys. And that's kind of what I'm banking on that we've seen as well, and he sort of leads the charge for the blowout, and that gets a few more minutes as a result. But that's all we have for you in player props. Make sure you're subscribed to that page, and also check out the best bets we have up in a separate episode for you. And until we see you tomorrow, happy betting.